soon as all the settings are.
That counts.
What? Yeah.
The pack counts tonight.
I bring a sign tomorrow, right? I can bring it back.
Yeah. So you can bring it back tomorrow or just, it's just
We're already.
within a week.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Gary Darnell. I'm a Salem hearings official. For the record, it's 5:30 on Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. This evening, we have one hearing on our docket, and that concerns an application for a conditional use permit for a short-term rental on property zoned RS at 1157 Fabray Road Southeast. The applicant is Mr. James Baxter, and this is case number CU 25-06. Staff will identify the approval criteria during the presentation of the staff report. So before we get into the testimony portion of the hearing, I'd like to explain some of the procedures and legalities that attach to these proceedings. You can characterize these hearings as being quasi-judicial and de novo. By quasi-judicial, that means you have due process rights, the right to get notice of the hearing, the right to testify, the right to an impartial decision maker, the right to a final decision in writing that addresses findings of fact and conclusions of law. By de novo, I mean that new evidence is allowed and accepted as long as it's relevant and material to the approval criteria. The rules of evidence that you'll find in circuit court aren't present here. We're a lot more flexible. The evidence that I can rely upon is type that would be commonly relied upon by a reasonably prudent person conducting their serious daily affairs. I do exclude testimony that's not relevant, not material, overly argumentative or repetitive. It's important to remember that you need to raise any procedural or substantive issue at this hearing, or if my decision is appealed before the Salem Planning Commission. You need to raise those issues with the degree of specificity that would allow parties and the decision maker to understand the issue that you're concerned with. A failure to raise an issue without that degree of specificity will preclude your ability to use that issue, raise that issue on appeal before the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals. And that's a quasi-judicial administrative body set up by the legislature to hear appeals of local land use decisions. The burden of proof of each fact or position lies on the person that's raising those facts or that position. The ultimate burden lies with the applicant to show that by preponderance of the evidence that all of the applicable approval criteria have been met. The record in these matters consists of the application and supplemental material, the staff report, the video of this hearing, any written or oral testimony that's received. If you have some concerns about whether or not some of your materials are in the record, be sure and present them to the hearings official this evening at the hearing when you have an opportunity to testify. By statute, you have the right to request that the record be held open an additional 7 days. You don't have to give a reason for that request, but you do need to raise that request before the hearing closes. If new evidence is introduced during that time and there's other parties, the other party will have an opportunity to review that new evidence and make comments. Finally, the applicant has the final word, either in rebuttal or a summary of the evidence presented. You also have the right to request a continuance of this hearing if you think that's needed. That decision is discretionary with the hearings official. You need to show that merely holding the record open a certain period of time is insufficient to cure whatever procedural or substantive issue you're concerned with. Testimony is, as I indicated, electronically recorded. So when you testify, first, please use the podium to my left. And second, as a preface to your testimony, give your name. I'll talk a little bit about why that's important in a moment. In terms of procedure that we follow, after I continue to bore you, there'll be an opportunity for staff to present a staff report. And when Mr. Miller finishes, there'll be an opportunity for the applicant to testify in support of the application, and then others who wish to testify in support of the application. Following all that testimony, there'll be a chance for those who would rather not be perceived as being in favor or against, and would like to ask a question or make a statement. Then there'll be an opportunity for people who wish to testify in opposition. Following that testimony, I'll turn to staff and see if the staff wishes to address any questions or issues that might have been raised during the public testimony. And then finally, there'll be an opportunity for the applicant to summarize the evidence in support and offer any rebuttal if there has been contrary testimony. As I indicated, my decision can be appealed. It's appealed to the Salem Planning Commission. You have 15 days after the written decision is mailed to perfect that appeal to the Planning Commission. The appeal will be de novo. And as I indicated, de novo means new evidence can be provided to the Planning Commission. And new parties may participate. And finally, as I indicated earlier, you have the right to an impartial decision maker. So in that regard, I'd like to indicate that I've had no ex parte contacts, nor do I have any actual or potential conflicts of interest. An ex parte contact is a communication with a decision maker that occurs outside this hearing room. It goes to the merits of the substance of the matter being considered. And if that happens, and sometimes it can't be prevented, then it's my duty to disclose the nature of that communication and tell you whether or not it has made me partial. You have the opportunity to challenge my impartiality or my communication of the contact if it's so disclosed. A conflict of interest has to do with whether or not my decision would benefit me financially, a family member, or a business that I'm associated with, or whether my decision would prevent a financial detriment to myself, a family member, or a business that I'm associated with. So as I indicated, I have no ex parte contacts to declare, nor do I have any actual potential conflicts of interest to declare. At this time, members of the audience may challenge my impartiality or the jurisdiction of the hearings official to hear this matter. Hearing no challenges, I'd ask for the staff report. Summarized.
All right, Good evening, everyone. I'm Quincy Miller from the City of Salem Planning Division. I'm a land use planner, and I'm here to talk about conditional use permit CU 25-06 for 1157 Fabry Road Southeast. And to kick things off, I request this presentation, staff report, and any comments that are received into the record.
They are so accepted.
So the request is the conditional use permit for the short-term rental within an existing single-family dwelling. There are no other dwellings or development proposed for this. It is simply to allow the short-term rental use in the single-family dwelling. Here's a vicinity map of the property. The green star here is the property at hand. You can see it's, has a few parks nearby. It's in a developed area. In a more zoomed in approach, this is the zoning of the nearby areas. The yellow is the single family residential zone. The green is the residential agriculture zone, and the orange is the multifamily zone. So the outline here in red, the subject property is made up of 2 different tax lots, but as there's no other development happening with the property, there are no other concerns with it. So the proposed development, it's about 1,500 square feet, 3-bedroom, single-story dwelling with an attached 2-car garage. No other exterior changes proposed, and there's a paved driveway leading to the 2 Fabry Road. So as part of the conditional use criteria, for the first point, so short-term rentals are allowed as a conditional use in the RS zone, and conditions have been recommended to limit any adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood, such as limiting the maximum number of guests, limiting the allowed activities on the property, such as limiting to lodging only, and not allowing any sort of events that may cause noise after quiet hours. And so with these recommended conditions, the proposed use will be substantially similar to other existing single-family uses and will have a minimal impact on the surrounding area.
Is staff aware of any other short-term rentals in the neighborhood?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Are you aware of any other short-term rentals in the neighborhood?
Not at this time. I do know that since the city has been contracting with a third-party organization to take an inventory of any listings that do not have any short-term or accessory short-term rental licenses, it is likely that there may be some operating that do not have licenses, and so there may be some that will come up in the future. And so here's a quick rundown of the conditions of approval. The maximum of 6 guests is based off of 2 guests per bedroom and limited to only 1 group of guests at a time. As I said, limited to lodging, no events, and adhering to the city's quiet hours of 10 p.m. to 8 a.m.
6 adults then. 6 adults.
Correct, yes. So as children under 12 do not count towards the total. So there was no public testimony from either neighborhood agencies or other public agencies. There were no written comments received from the neighborhood association, and there were no written comments from any members of the public. So with that, the recommendation is to approve the conditional use permit with the recommended conditions of approval with the staff report. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
At this time, I'd like to hear from the applicant. Or not.
Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Yeah. You don't have to testify.
I don't really have anything to say. My name is Amy Baxter, and I am the applicant for 1157 Fabry Road.
I'm not sure the microphone is picking you up.
Oh, no, it's not on.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say the planning committee has done a great job, and it's been a very smooth process so far, so easy to understand, ask questions.
Do you guys live close to this house?
We live about 20-25 minutes away. We grew up in,
What sort of management do you expect? In other words, how often would you normally visit to make sure that, the tenants, well, the guests aren't acting up? How often do you do lawn maintenance, that sort of thing?
We do lawn maintenance regularly,
Is,
which is,
Weekly.
I don't know, every week, every other week or so. My son lives next door, so he is there. And we're always in South Salem. We recently moved, well, we've moved out of South Salem for 6 years now, but we grew up there, raised our kids there. We have other properties that we manage, so we've had rentals for years. Years.
how many years have you had?
Rentals, gosh, 28 years and
And how many
I
rentals,
managed myself.
how many rentals do you have?
We have, oh gosh, maybe 8 doors, 10 doors,
How many?
maybe 10 doors, maybe. So we have some in Corvallis.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, yeah, the other owner on this property. Yeah, and you. The other owner lives in South Salem.
Okay.
Mike, he's on the applicant, but he lives probably 3 minutes away. Yes, okay, thanks.
Okay. There, anybody else who wishes to testify? Staff have anything to add?
Nope, I don't think so.
You have an opportunity for rebuttal. For some reason. No, I didn't think so. Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing. My intent is to approve the conditional use. My decision should be out Monday at the latest. And so, thank you for showing up and testifying. That's it.